Chicago? What do you say? Cubs gonna win today.
Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Pointless Exercise Podcast. We're going to talk baseball with National Baseball expert David Brown. And David, why in the 80s did the Kansas City Royals draft a whole bunch of NFL Hall of Famers? Let me give you a partial list.
Yeah.
In 1981, in the 4th round, they drafted Dan Marino. In 1981, the same year, in the 18th round, they drafted John Elway. Obviously, they drafted Bo Jackson. We know that because he actually played for him. They like to do it in pairs. No, that's not right. I can't. All right. So they drafted Bo in 86. The year before, in the 30th round, they drafted Deion Sanders.
Huh.
Were they just sharing scouts with the Chiefs? I mean, they shared a parking lot, right?
Yeah, they still do.
Yeah. They're just like, hey, who's good? Well, these guys.
Boy, I don't think I knew that about Bo. I don't know if that's just John Sherholtz being adventurous or what.
Athletes?
Athletes.
So I was going to ask you who was the best MLB baseball player? Who was the best Major League Baseball player? That's worse than the MLB is me saying MLB baseball.
ATM machine.
Ever drafted by an NFL team. So my original thought was it's probably Dave Winfield.
Yeah.
He's Hall of Famer. He was also drafted in the NBA. He got drafted in all 3 major sports. I don't know about hockey. I don't know if Dave got drafted in hockey. But he was a 17th round pick of the Vikings. So that kind of feels like cheat. Like 17th round, they'd run out of people. They were drafting other people off the Minnesota campus probably too. Somebody walked by. Hey, you want to get drafted? Who are you?
I'm not sure I realized the NFL had that many rounds, but I guess it makes sense that they can just take whoever they want, and it's like a conscription for a civil war. Oh, you're on the Vikings now. I am.
Kirk Gibson was the 7th round pick of the St. Louis Football Cardinals. He was a hotshot defensive back out of Michigan
That's
State.
right, Frank.
And he didn't play. But did I black out and forget this? So DJ Dozier, running back for the Vikings, running back at Penn State, was an 83 draft pick of the Tigers in the 18th round. He played 25 games for the 92 Mets.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I
mean, Google couldn't be wrong. Let's look.
These are things that I remember. Jay Dozier.
I do feel like I should have remembered that. Yeah. Not very well. Although he has 9 more big league hits than I do.
This is where Tim Tebow got the idea that he could do it.
I think so. I do.
He was a top 50 baseball prospect by Baseball America. He was the 44th number, the 44th best baseball product according to Baseball America.
DJ Dozier.
He was.
Yeah.
He had good numbers. He could draw a walk, could steal a base, had a little power. He's kind of, like one of those guys the Cardinals had in the outfield. They had like 3 of them at the same time. The Ray Lankford, Bernard Gilkey, Brian Jordan.
Yep.
There's another dual sport guy.
Brian Jordan was a 1st round draft pick of the St. Louis baseball Cardinals. And I think he was a 1st round pick by the Falcons. He was 1st round pick in both sports. Who took him? The Indians had drafted him. As I try to get my glasses off so I can read. Isn't that ironic? I have to take my glasses off to read. Drew Henson, 98 Yankees.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't know the Elway Marino one was funny, that they took 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. The Bulls famously had drafted 2 Olympians in the 1984 draft. 2 Olympic gold medalists.
Carl Lewis.
Yeah.
I knew they drafted Carl Lewis.
Right. Michael Jordan and Carl Lewis.
Yeah.
First and their last pick were gold medalists. I would give real money to see somebody throw a basketball at Carl Lewis and see what happens. We know what happens if he tries to sing the anthem.
Exactly. He couldn't even sing the anthem in a basketball game, much less dribble. It's
still one of my favorite Charlie Steiners. He had a great joke and he could barely get to it because he was laughing so hard. And he goes, "It sounds more like Francis Scott off key." Anyway, so we'll see if any future MLB stars get drafted tonight in the first round of the NFL draft.
Right.
Look at me doing wacky radio bits.
Well, it's more interesting than the draft, so
yeah. I don't mind the draft, but I either have to be writing something and making fun of it, or I just have to have it parked on a second TV, and I can just look over at Mel Kiper's hair and then see who's getting picked.
Right.
I don't know if you saw this, because I know you're a huge Chattanooga Klingsters fan. What is a Klingster?
I don't know. Is that like Klinger from MASH? I don't know.
It sounds like something you have to cut off the dog after it tries to poop in the backyard. Anyway, a player for Chattanooga named Chandler Siegel legally hit a ball twice in the same at bat, or he hit the ball and he hit it again, and it was fine. Do you know why it was fine? This is crazy if you see the video.
Croquet sounds like. I don't know.
He got jammed. He hit the ball, rolled it to the shortstop. Before the shortstop could get it, the broken barrel of his bat hit the ball again and knocked it away from the shortstop for a single.
He gets credit for
it was fine because he didn't do it. There's no way to do that on purpose. Like, he's not holding the bat, hitting it a second time.
So they think, anyway. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Hunter Pence is like, I never did that. Hunter hit it twice, right? In a playoff game? Like, as he was swinging, he hit it and the bat broke, and while he was still swinging, it hit it again. And that also apparently was legal. But I think he may have just hit it foul. I don't remember now. I remember Fox was very excited because they had a super slow-mo replay of it.
Oh, great. We get to use the slow-mo.
Yep. Oh, we got it. All right, but that brings me to one of my favorite things, official scorer chat. I love nothing more than official score. I was an official scorer for one full minor league season, in which I've told the story that four notable things. For those who haven't listened, I'll give you these 4 stories again. One of the things I had to do after every game was I had to print off the box score, and I had to go to both managers and ask them if they wanted to challenge my rulings on anything. Because sometimes they'd be like, that should have been a hit, that should have been an error. Manager for the Beloit Snappers was Don Money, former Philly and Brewer great, who famously got replaced by the Phillies by Mike Schmidt and lost his job in Milwaukee to Paul Molitor. So poor Don. But he was a very good player. He won a Gold Glove. He just wasn't as good as Mike Schmidt or Paul Molitor. But anyway, one time I had to take it to the West Michigan Whitecaps, their manager, Phil Regan, former Cub, longtime MLB pitching coach. I knocked on the door to his office. He said, "Come in." I opened the door. He's sitting on one of those old-fashioned lawn chairs, the kind with the vinyl that was woven, straps weaved together, with his balls hanging right through it. Thankfully he didn't get up, because I don't want to see what would have happened. He just reached his hand out. I handed him the box score. I looked at it. He goes, "I think it's fine." And I was like, "Thank God." Let me get out of there. So that was one. Another one was whatever team, the Grand Rapids Battle Cats. They all had these terrible names. Mike Harkey was the pitching coach for them. I knocked on the door. Nobody answered. I knocked on the door again. The door opened just a little bit, and it was Harkey. And two of their players were beating the shit out of each other in the middle of the clubhouse. And he just stuck his hand out. He goes, "Is that the box score?" And he just stuck his hand out and grabbed it and pulled it back. And I was like, okay, I think we're probably good. We had, well, I got a lot of stories. Prince Fielder was first baseman for the Snappers. Prince and I only interacted a couple of times. One of the times we interacted, the Brewers had complained to Beloit that it was a terrible park, Pullman Field, which has since been replaced by a state-of-the-art, beautiful ABC Supply Stadium, funded mostly by the richest right-wing lunatic female in America, Diane Hendricks. But anyway, they were complaining to the Snappers that the weight room was not readily accessible from the clubhouse. You had to you literally had to go out of the clubhouse, walk around outside, go in a different door, and it was right next to the clubhouse. So on a road trip, one of the maintenance guys, it was a cinder block wall, a big cinder block wall, and they just knocked out cinder blocks to make an opening, but they didn't even they didn't make it they didn't finish it off like a door jam. You could just see where the big blocks were missing, and it was this jagged thing going around. And I walked in and Prince was looking at it, and I looked at it, and I went, "That looks like the Kool-Aid Man walked through the wall," which he loved. It was his favorite thing. He would see me and yell, "Kool-Aid Man!" That was great. Not as fun as the time I got there, and they were telling me the story that earlier in the day, or they were saying, we probably won't see Cecil Fielder around here anymore. We're like, why? And they're like, well, he got served today. He showed up at the park, and there was a server waiting for him because he was being sued by Prince's business manager because Cecil was spending Prince's signing bonus in Vegas. So that was fun. But so one time I took the box score to Don, and Don's like, "Did you give Prince an error on that throw in the third inning?" I go, "No, it looked like a tough chance." He's like, we got to start giving him errors." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "He's never going to work on his defense unless we embarrass him with a lot of errors." And I go, "So anything close, I'm just supposed to give Prince an error?" He goes, "Yeah, unless you want me to ask you to change it after every game." So we started upping Prince's error count. He was 19 and he was destroying the Midwest League, but he was not a finished product at first. He never really was. And so I had to give him some errors. And then there was this journeyman shortstop. The hotshot shortstop on the Snappers that year was a guy named Josh Murray. His brother Aaron played quarterback at Georgia, and I believe was the Bachelor. Mm-hmm. Josh was flaming out pretty spectacular. They'd really challenged him. I think they sent him right to the Midwest League, and he wasn't ready. And so they, on this really good team, the shortstop was a gaping hole, and they sent Josh to. This was a bad sign. I walked into the clubhouse one day because that wasn't my real job. I would work my real job, and then I'd show up, and I'd get there a couple hours before the game. I walked in, and Don was standing. He had opened the door into where the office people worked, and he's like, "Does anybody have a bus scheduled to the airport?" And next to him, I could see Josh sitting in his office. And I'm like, "Oh, this is not a good sign." And he did get sent out. And they signed this 25-year-old minor league journeyman named Chaz Turney. Chaz was not very good. And he, one of the games relatively early in the season, he hit a ball to the other team shortstop, and the shortstop bobbled it and then made a bad throw. And so I gave him an error. And after the game, Don was like, "Yeah, that should be a hit for Chaz. That was a tough play." I'm like, "Don, that wasn't a tough play, and I could have given him 2 errors on it, I think." And so every time, Don occasionally he would just out of nowhere go, "Did you give Chaz this hit yet?" Because what he wanted me to do was either change it or just later in a game when there was an obvious error that Chaz hit into, just give him a hit to even it out. Like that's not how that works. But they made it to the Midwest League Championship Series against the Lansing Lugnuts, the Justin Jones, Felix P.A. Lansing Lugnuts. And I've told this story a million times because I'm still amazed that it worked. So I would score the game on this rickety old laptop. And early in the season, I was hand scoring it and entering it into the laptop, so I'd have a backup. But I also had to run the scoreboard, not just the score. I had to run the balls and strikes and outs. So I eventually just stopped keeping a paper copy, which was just the most dangerous thing, living on the edge with that thing. But anyway, somehow that laptop made it through the whole season. It never screwed me over. But in the championship game, the decisive game of the championship series, Felix tagged up and scored. The snappers challenged, and he was ruled out for leaving third base too early. And I had it had never happened during the entire season. I had no idea what the code was to enter into the scoring software for that.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all usually 2 letters for everything. But I'm like, I don't know. I'm looking at the PA announcer who I sat next to, and I'm like, I don't even know how the fuck to put this in the computer. So I just type in, I get over Felix's box, and I just type in RLE for runner left early. And I hit enter, and the run came off the thing, and the outs were right. I'm like, I did it! It was like my favorite moment of the championship series was me guessing what the code for runner left early was. Anyway, that's a really long preface to that. We had a couple of exciting moments in official scoredom over the weekend. On Friday, the Cubs and the Diamondbacks played that ridiculous game where the Cubs scored like 5 runs in the 7th, and then the Diamondbacks scored 10 runs in the 8th, and then the Cubs scored 6 runs in the 8th. And the important context of this is both starting pitchers pitched well, Corbin Burnes and Colin Ray, but Colin Ray left with 2 outs in the 4th inning. So 1 out shy of qualifying for the win.
Mm-hmm.
So the Cubs brought in a variety of duds to relieve. But at the end, Ryan Presley was given a 2-run lead, and he got the Diamondbacks out, and the Cubs win. And then when the box score came out, Ryan Presley did not get the save. Ryan Presley got the win,
Right.
even though he came into a game with a 2-run lead. Now, I knew why, because I had to do it. Happens a lot in the minor leagues, a lot.
Yeah.
And it happens more and more in baseball. When the starter doesn't go 5 innings, you can't give him the win, but you don't have to give the win to the pitcher. Sometimes it doesn't happen at all. Sometimes the starter leaves with the lead, and the team keeps the lead the whole time. You get to pick the most effective reliever, and he gets the win. Same thing happens when the lead changes hands. Well, so basically the score didn't have much to pick from. You had like Jordan Wicks came in to pitch, and he threw 5 pitches and gave up 3 hits. And then Porter Hodge came in, and he gave up, his ERA went from 2 to 7 in 1 inning of. And then Ethan Roberts was the pitcher who got the final out in the 8th when the Cubs still behind. But then they took the lead in the 8th. And so if you were the official scorer, who would you have picked to get the win? Would you have picked Ethan Roberts, who faced 2 batters, one of whom hit a 3-run homer, or Ryan Presley, who faced 4 batters and got 3 of them out and ended the game?
Yeah, I would have picked Presley, I think.
Yeah. But it was funny, the Alex Cohen, the completely overmatched backup TV announcer for Ed Marquis, was very confused by what had happened. He was talking about it on Saturday. And it sounded like he didn't come around and say it. It sounded like he wondered why Presley couldn't just get the win and the save. You just give him both. No, sorry, Alex. You can't. He's like, I think he'd rather have the save than the win. Because he's a closer.
What his contract says.
Yeah. I think he's just happy he got somebody out. Turns out that right immediately after the game, he had to have his knee drained, and he hasn't been able to pitch since. So he didn't really. I don't think he had other things on his mind.
It wasn't because he kicked something, because he didn't get the save, I hope.
It might have been. Actually, he may have. That poor little official scorer may have come in and handed Craig Counsell the box score. You need to change anything? And Presley's like, what'd I get, though? I didn't get the fucking win, did I? I need to save. Kick. Injured. Yeah, that's what happened. But then, I believe on the same day, it may have been Sunday, but it was either Saturday or Sunday. I guess the Cup game was Friday. They had quite a game in Tampa between the Rays and the Yankees.
Yeah.
Poor Aaron Boone blew his little stack twice. The first time, Aaron Judge hit a ball about 1,000 miles to left field, and it was ruled foul. This towering fly ball was ruled foul. And the Yankees were sure it was a home run, so they challenged it. And on the replay, it sure looks like it was a home run, but they said the call stands. The problem was, because they're playing in a minor league park in Tampa, the foul pole doesn't go all the way up as high as it does in a big league park. And Boone was bitching about it. And what I wanted to say to Aaron, but I wasn't there to say it to him, was, who owns this park?
Yeah, right.
Isn't it you guys? You put the fucking foul poles in if you're going to complain about it. You're the ones that put them in. It's not the Rays' fault. Rays don't have to put new foul poles in.
It's not like there was a hurricane and the foul poles flew in from St. Petersburg, and it's like, well, it's half a foul pole because half of it was carried out to sea.
Yeah.
So we're going to put up half a foul pole. Yeah, this is the Yankees ballpark.
Yeah, I love the irony of the fact that he was complaining about it, and it's like, well, it's you guys own it, so it's your fault.
And I know that they're bigger and stronger in the big leagues, but minor leaguers are capable of hitting home runs that look very much like major league home runs.
Yes.
You think that they would put in, even if there was no major league game, a foul pole befitting of, a Crash Davis-like figure who hits a lot of home runs in the minor leagues. It's still the same kind of situation. So it's double bad on the Yankees for
and it's
complaining about it and not having the right foul pole there in the first place.
And that's their spring training home. Are you telling me that spring training games aren't important enough to put the? Oh, maybe I guess they're not. Okay, but that wasn't the official score issue in that game. In the same game, Max Fried went to the dugout after the bottom of the 7th with a no-hitter. He came back out to pitch the 8th, and he had given up a hit. Because the official scorer, Bill Matthews, announced during the 7th end, or during the top of the 8th, that he had changed one of his rulings. He had called an error on a ground ball by an infield single by center fielder Chandler Simpson. He had originally ruled it an error on Paul Goldschmidt. Right. But after looking at the replay, he realized there was no way any Yankee was going to get to the bag in time, so he gave him a hit. And it made poor little Aaron Boone go nuts again. Because you're not supposed to do that in a no-hitter. The irony of it was, oh no, it's a different thing. I'm sorry, I read the wrong thing. There was a similar play. They were using as context. There was Simpson hit a similar ball to Goldschmidt in the 3rd inning, and the Yankees successfully retired him 3-1. And I was looking at it quickly, and I thought the thing was going to be that Max was too late to get to first on the one that they ruled, but that's not what they ruled. They ruled neither one of them were going to get there. This was the sum total. One of the athletic reporters caught up to the official score after the game, asked him why he waited 2 innings to change the call. This is the entirety of his answer. I made a decision. He's no Bob Rosenberg.
Brother? Yeah, it's funny. They can... the teams, there's a dugout phone just for this. If you look in a major league dugout, you'll see bullpen and media, and there's a press box, and they can, harangue, not Aaron harangue, but they can bother the official scorer, both teams, in perpetuity to an obnoxious point. So there's probably has something to do with the leverage that was placed on him to make the change.
Is that the phone Kent Merker used to call and complain about Chip Carey?
Yes.
He called the official score. I said, can you get one of the WGN TV guys down here for a second? I want to talk to one of them. What? No, we're trying to work the game. Shouldn't you be in the bullpen? Why are you there?
Once in a while, you'll see a player blow up or a manager, and they'll take a bat or something and just knock it off the wall. Same kind of phone, yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are unwritten rules to scoring, and one of them is anything that early in the game, anything that might go one way or the other. If that team doesn't have a hit yet, just give the error. You can always change it back later. That's usually when they get changed. Like the way this normally would have worked was he would have given the error, and then Fried would have given up a hit in the 8th, and then a little bit later, all of a sudden, that hit in the 6th, that error in the 6th is now a hit. You're just trying to get out of the way of history.
It is a backward compared to what we're used to. But we also know from other different kinds of scoring changes that scoring changes can happen well after a game's over.
Yeah.
Sometimes years after a game's over, because when they took away all the no-hitters that weren't 9 innings, there were a bunch of, Andy Hawkins doesn't have a no-hitter anymore for his no-hit loss because he didn't pitch 9 innings, even though there was no 9th inning because the team won the game.
That one bothered me because he literally couldn't. Was he supposed to ask?
There's no.
Hey guys, I haven't got a hit yet. Do you guys want to bat in the bottom of the 9th just for funsies? I know you've already won.
It's one thing to take away Melito Perez's 6 inning, 5 inning, whatever no hitter.
Yeah,
I guess I can see that. But Andy Hawkins finished the game, completed the game. I don't even know if he got credit for a complete game, but he should have because there was no 9th inning. So, but yeah, it is a quirky thing about baseball. The whole thing about scoring, it being like up to someone's opinion, is kind of weird. And should it be an error or a hit? I've always thought that they should just give everybody, if you hit the ball and you get on base, you should get a hit. And then if there's like extenuating circumstances, if somebody's screwed up, then like give the team an error or something. There's I think it's just if you hit the ball and you get on base, your batting average shouldn't go down.
Right.
So I don't know.
Well, I kind of wonder if, I mean, not everything is created equal, of course. But what if you're a fast guy and you force an error? Like a desperation throw or whatever. Your on base average shouldn't go down.
No.
Because maybe you don't get a hit, you don't get credit for a hit for your batting average, which nobody cares about anymore. But I don't know. I'm looking quickly to see here because Andy Hawkins had 2 complete games and a shutout in 1990. I'm trying to see real quick if one of those was his.
I've looked this up, but not in years, so I don't remember. Because I was at that game. That's why I'm so emotional about it.
Oh, you were there?
I was.
Who was the guy? I forget now. Who made the error and left? It was a guy who wasn't supposed to be out there, right?
Jim Leyritz. Well,
it was Leyritz. It was Leyritz. Yeah, catcher, basically playing left field.
Jesse Barfield. There was either the wind or the sun or the rain or the wardrobe, something. The lion, the witch. There was another ball that probably should have been caught that wasn't. So it was very lucky to be a no-hitter, but I don't know.
They gave him credit for a complete game for the 8 inning for the loss. They did not, however, give him. Oh, he didn't throw a shutout. So yeah, so he did get a complete game. He his shutout came later that month in Cleveland. But the thing that jumps out at me is this is the game after. So he gets a no-hitter and loses before Fay Vincent took it away from him years later. His next start, 5 days later, is at home against the Twins. He lost 2-0. He pitched 11 2/3 innings.
My holy Harvey had
it. They lost in the 12th. And he pitched 11 2/3. So he pitched 19 2/3 scoreless innings, and he only gave up how many hits against the Twins? He gave up 6. Scattered 6 hits over. 11 2/3. Lord. You don't see stuff like that anymore. But yeah, I could tell you what the limited to 1 year of official scoring that I did. It would be nice if there were more hard and fast rules for some of that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you're just supposed to automatically give a guy a hit if the player loses the ball in the lights or the sun.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like a thing. That's not his fault.
If the ball doesn't touch the glove, are you supposed to give a hit as well? Like something that he probably should touch, but somehow misses.
Well, like if a ball goes through somebody's legs, they don't touch it. That's an error. It's really the distinction. Apparently, is if they like were impeded from catching the ball because of a glowing orb, either a light or the sun. That's like your one thing. And so I kind of wonder, like, that doesn't help the player who doesn't like make a meal out of the fact that he can't see it.
Yeah.
Like if you go over at the last second, you can't see it. It just looks like it bounces off your glove. You know, you need to stand there for like the next few minutes and like shield, like stand out there and like shield your eyes and point at the sun. Just keep doing that until
that thing.
Yeah, that was why. It's not that I suck. That was why. Yeah, I remember the Snappers had a third baseman named Jeff Ure. And the two things I remember about Jeff. Number one, his brother was in the military and he played I'm Proud to Be an American as his walk-up song for every band. And he played every day, and we were so sick of it. But he also was a good third baseman, and so like I was kind of relaxed when the ball was hit to him because I wasn't he was going to make a good throw.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, good. They hit it to Ure. Thank God. Don't hit it to anybody else. Could you just strike everybody out? The other thing we couldn't tell, this was the other thing that was, so the booth, and I'm sure it's very common, especially in old minor league parks. Ding, what'd we win? I had a terrible view. I couldn't really see the catcher very well. Like I could see the ump, but the catcher was just kind of there. And so a lot of pass balls and wild pitches were just really tough to tell. Like should the catcher have stopped that or not?
Yeah.
It was oftentimes you just couldn't tell. Sometimes wild pitches were so obvious it didn't matter. But the pitching coach, a guy named Rich Savour, he knew because the pitchers would come up on bad weather days. The next day's pitcher who was charting would sit in the booth with us to get out of the cold or whatever. And he had been told that I had complained that you can't tell if it's a wild. So everything was supposed to be, he wanted everything to be a pass ball. So because that doesn't count, that it's basically like an error. So if a run only reaches because of the pass ball or only scores, it's not earned. So everything was supposed to be a pass ball. And if I'd see him coming, I knew what he was going to complain about. I was like, oh God. It's like, you can't tell. Just do that. No, we're not going to do that. So we have a couple of career backup catchers who are just tearing it up. Most notably, Cub backup, who's actually kind of in a timeshare, I guess, with Miguel Amaya. They're not really, nobody's truly the backup, although they're both playing well. His first 9 years in the big leagues, his slash line was 224, 307, 373. In his first 14 games as a Cub, he's hitting 342, 519, 895.
Some of that might regress.
He is the greatest player in baseball right now. Maybe. Because in the same division, Austin Wynns, who is a career 226, 273, 324 player in 5 seasons, parts of 5 seasons, is hitting 444, 479, 756. He's not slugging like Carson, but he's turned into Ted Williams.
You know, you would think that more of these catchers would do this. They have so much experience back there. They know what's coming better than any other player. No matter how good of a hitter they are, you'd think they'd get hot like this more often than they do. So I look at it as it's something that should happen more often. It's not something that is to be scorned. You know, I've seen Carson Kelly do this before, I swear. He's gotten off to maybe not this kind of start, but he's had other seasons where he's just hit the ball ridiculously well. Maybe one of those Diamondback seasons that he was with. I like him. He's a good person to talk to. I don't know That doesn't really have anything to do with him hitting, but he's not incapable of getting on base. It's good, but this is a bit much.
Oh, so you don't think it's gonna last?
Not to this degree.
Oh, damn! I was counting on it. My brother-in-law is a Cardinal fan, and I saw him at Easter. He was complaining about them getting rid of Carson Kelly. I said, I always liked him. Oh, you did? Because he'd done so many good things. In 3 years with the Cardinals, he had hit 154, 174, 114. And I reminded him, I said, I think, I'm pretty sure you got Paul Goldschmidt for him.
Right.
Would you have just not done that trade because you had to keep Carson Kelly? He's like, boo. And then he's like, oh, Goldschmidt sucks. I'm like, I remind him, oh, he's hitting 370 for the Yankees. Other than that, everything's going great.
He was Carson Kelly sort of was the heir apparent to Yachty.
Yeah.
Yachty just wouldn't leave. I think Carson knew that Yachty's first love was basketball and that he was found any moment to bolt for ownership of a basketball team, and it just didn't happen. So he kind of got stale.
Well, Carson left a brochure on Yachty's chair. Said how to buy a Puerto Rican League basketball team in 6 easy steps.
Like a Red Fox joke.
What do you think, Yachty? Oh, I can do both. Ah, shit. Well, never mind. Fine. Austin Wynns might not even be the hottest Austin on his own team.
Yeah.
They have Austin Hayes, who's hitting 361, 410, 639. And do we think maybe the Reds are finally done? Maybe they're actually going to play outfielders in the outfield instead of infielders in the outfield?
It's a good question. I don't know. I think I can only hope that Francona's influence is nudging them that way. Can you get me some effing outfielders? That's my favorite.
We got lots of guys. There's a rule I want to change. Actually, more of a procedure, not a rule. I would change both. I would change the procedure and the rule because I'm really tired of it. What I'm really tired of, and it happens multiple times every game, there's a close play on the field, camera shot to the dugout, manager has to do the thing where he stands like sideways so he can kind of see the umpire, but he can see the guy on the phone to the replay booth. And he's like, okay, oh, nope, hold up. And they got to hold their hands up. Like, just a second, we're thinking. I want that gone.
Yeah.
What I want is give both teams an extra challenge, but you just have to challenge right away.
Right.
Here's your reward. You get an extra one to use, so challenge more stuff. We don't care. But we're not doing this thing where we waste 30 seconds all the time. This ridiculous, should we or should we not? Because at home, I've already yelled for Craig to just challenge it.
Yeah.
I don't know why you can't hear me. Or have me be the one who decides. Give me a button I can hit. And I'll just do it from home.
I totally agree. They should have one more challenge anyway. But you're right. They should just challenge. And I think your vision for the future would happen, and it would be better this way. We would not be wasting the time with the halfway manager, in virtual reality versus reality. He could just, without worrying about losing the challenge, just do it.
Right?
Why not? And there's always one more. There's always a couple things that you got to you feel you got to challenge anyway. So they should have one, room for one more. To just put it in there.
All right. See, we agree. So that should just happen. I'll get a hold of Rob Manfred the next time he's when he's not busy telling Dodger fans that if it's too expensive to go to the games, you should just go to the Angels games.
Go to the Angels games. Sometimes he answers questions like he's the commissioner of a different sport. Well, you get two teams in LA. Well, not exactly.
Why do you have to go watch the good team? There's a shit team right down the freeway that's a lot cheaper. Go see them. It's still baseball.
Even from a practical standpoint, it's probably like 2 hours away from wherever they are. one way.
It's like, well, I would, Rob, but I have to work until 6, and I can't get to the. Oh, that's the other thing the Angels are now getting more and more criticized for. They never have getaway days in the afternoon. They're always night games. Not only are they at night, they start at the latest, according to the CBA, the last possible minute that they can start.
Right.
Because Artie Moreno got tired of why they would have day games during the week and nobody would go. So he's like, no, clearly our fans like to go at night. So we're never gonna have an afternoon game. And the funny thing is, players from other teams complain about it, but the guys who get screwed the most, obviously, are the Angels, because it doesn't just happen. It happens to other teams maybe once a year. It happens to the Angels every homestand. The end of every homestand, unless it's on a Sunday, they got a night game, and then they got to go somewhere.
I would think. I mean, I haven't done any market research on this, but I would think that it would be easier if you're going to go to the game to just take the day off and go, rather than worrying about getting there on time for a night game. You know what I mean? So, you go to work, and then it would take forever to get from work to home to the game, whatever. Just if you're going to go, so they're not going to even do that. You might as well just play the day game.
Right.
When traffic would be conceivably easier. I don't know if that's true, but logic says it would be, not during rush hour times, at least going to. So
I'm going to make a crazy assumption. I'm going to tell Artie that I think the reason that their fans don't go to those games is because they're bad.
Maybe.
I think maybe that has more to do with it than the fact that, because baseball it's always better to go to a day game than a night game. Everything looks better. I prefer.
It's not so late.
Right. I'm old. I fall asleep. I can't go. It's too late. I won't make it. I have a lot of complaints about the Cubs and about the Marquee Network, but last night, inadvertently, I found something that I don't know how often they do it. I'm hoping they do it every game. I doubt it, but they did it last night, and I enjoyed it very much. I was really there. I don't know what happened to Boog. I don't know if he pulled a hamstring on Sunday Night Baseball, but he hasn't been back to do. I have it was schedule related. The Cubs have had a day off, 2 games against the Dodgers, another day off. Boog's like, ooh, that's like 4 days off for me. So the backup guy from Iowa can do the games. He's just awful.
Your favorite guy?
Alex Cohen, who I like to call Thumbo, because he's dumb and he looks like a thumb. It's going to catch on. Everybody's going to start calling him Thumbo.
All right.
On the Marquee app, they have a thing called Sounds of Wrigley, or I think that's what they called it.
Mm-hmm.
It was the broadcast without the announcers.
Oh, they can do that.
It was great. It took me a while to get to figure out how to run it, because I immediately went to the Marquee app on my TV and had to log in to all that crap, because I don't use the Marquee app on my TV. I got logged in and it said, you can't access this. I'm like, why? Do you know that I want it? And maybe it's a thing with the TV app. I don't know. I went to it on my phone and it was working, so I just AirPlayed it to the TV.
Mm-hmm.
And there it was. It was great. I enjoyed it very much. I do think if they're going to continue to do it, you don't get as, you can't really hear the PA announcer very well.
Yeah.
It seems odd. Like, you think you would be able to, maybe that the field mic needs to move a little bit. But it's easy. I've seen a few baseball games in my life. I can follow it without the announcer.
Yeah.
So it's fine. It used to be a thing you could do on certain versions of MLB.TV. For me, it was, I accidentally found it one day. If I accessed MLB TV on my PlayStation 4, then it had a choice. When you went to pick the announcers, you could pick none. And that's what it was. It was just the field sounds. But no matter where else I did it, if I did it off anywhere else, it didn't have it, but it was on that one. And I don't know, I need to look now at MLB.TV if you can just turn the announcers off for certain games. But that was really nice. I enjoyed that. So
this is one of those features. This seems like one of those features where you think you're going crazy. You're the insane one, or like a Mandela effect, where it's like, weren't we supposed to get this feature where you could do what you said? Or didn't we used to have this feature? I swear we used to have this feature. And you're saying that we have had it, depending on your device and how you listen.
I know I had it because I used it a couple of times and I tweeted about it. And Len Casper, I said, "Oh, it's great." And Len Casper replied to me and said, "I don't think it's that great." So the announcer didn't want you to be able to turn the announcers off. I'm like, well, Len, and I didn't use it very much back then because Len Casper was the announcer for the Cubs, and I enjoyed the Cub broadcast. So why would I turn it off? But there were other teams where it's nice I could turn it off, and it was just kind of cool every once in a while to do it because baseball, of all the sports, it probably lends itself best to this. Like, you can still hear the important stuff. Although I tell you, I don't know, ESPN does this they did it last year for all the college playoff games, where they had they do like the multicast, and you can watch the regular broadcast, or you can watch the broadcast with like Pat McAfee wandering around the sidelines, yucking it up with everybody, or you can watch a broadcast with the Notre Dame radio call or the Georgia radio call. Well, they had the Sky Cam, which is the only one that they would do in 4K on Comcast. And it was just on that Sky Cam, the one that hangs over the field like you're playing a video game. When you watch it like that, there were no announcers. Mm-hmm. It was great because, especially for college football, actually some PA announcers talk too much. Like one of the bowl games, I felt like there was an announcer because he was like describing the play.
Right.
And I'm like, we're here. You're the PA announcer. You don't need to tell us that, while it's going on. Just, you're supposed to summarize it at the end. Travion Henderson rushed for 3 yards.
Yeah.
2nd down, 7. That's it. You don't have to do the other stuff. But a lot of them did that way. It was really nice. I did even all of the championship game. I watched it without announcers. I don't miss Kirk and Herbie.
I can't think of an example, but certain baseball movies are like that, where the PA announcer you can tell that the PA announcer in the movie is talking for the audience at home watching the movie, not the people in the stands, because he's overly descriptive of what's going on. It's almost like a radio broadcast. And I almost wonder, in 1940, were PA announcers in baseball games more like that? Did they speak more at one time? Or is this just a function of, we're watching a baseball movie, to move the story along, we need to hear the PA announcer kind of pretend like he's a radio announcer? I don't know, but it's...
Thankfully, before either of our times, the Cubs had a PA announcer named Pat Piper.
Yeah.
Who roamed the stands with a megaphone, like a cheerleader, and he would yell, he had to yell, "Get your!" And there are recordings of him because he did it. Yeah. I think through this into the 60s. I think they may even play some of it at Wrigley's. Like, "Get your pencils, the scorecard's ready."
So he would go multiple times. So in theory, everyone could hear him tell the lineup.
I guess. I don't know. I know that he, during games, would be in different spots sometimes. Yeah. I don't know if he got bored or he had to go to the can, and he's just yelling from the trough. Now batting for the Cubs. Pat, put that, raise it up. We can hear what you're doing.
The game is not going on. Now batting is your wiener, and you're urinating.
He was the public address announcer he was the field announcer first. That's when he had the megaphone. Then he was the PA announcer when they actually gave him a microphone. He had a short career with the Cubs. 1916 to 1974.
Wow.
So he would have been the first. Because 16 was the that's when the Cubs took over Wrigley. Right,
from the whales.
Yeah.
Let's say those Confederate war brides who saw the man land on the moon.
Yeah, I mean, Pat's. We used to talk about my grandpa, who was born in 1910 and didn't die till 1995. Like, how much crazy shit. And we asked him one time, if, in 1920 you had been forwarded to 1995. He's like, "Oh, I crap my pants." What is all this stuff?
I just did.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Grandpa. I mean, you do that anyway. All right, so we're going to fix the replay rule. I like that. I'm going to call Rob. Here's a trend I want to go away. I want him to go away in general, but especially in baseball. last week we had not one but two on field, not even on field, in the batter's box, gender reveals.
Yeah.
So the Bryce Harper one, I believe, the bat boy he knew he was going to get there was a designated bat, and he was either going to get handed a blue bat or a pink bat, and that was going to tell him if Harper baby number 6 or whatever they're up to,
Yeah, right,
is a boy or a girl, and he got the blue bat, and so not a dry eye in the house. Apparently, I guess the road announcers didn't know what was going on for like 3 innings, and finally they're like, "Oh yeah, apparently Bryce used a blue bat a couple innings ago because he's having a boy or something." We don't know. But the Guardians did one where Stephen Kwan dug into the batter's box, then dramatically called timeout, got out of the batter's box, reached into his pocket, and put a pink wristband on to signal to David Fry, who was on deck, that his wife was having a girl.
it's hey, if they can concentrate on the game and do all this stuff, that's fine. But it seems to me that this is like, we complain about these in-game interviews being invasive. I don't know. Shouldn't we be playing baseball while we're playing baseball? I hate to sound like a boomer.
My favorite Wrigley Field gender reveal ever came after a game, or maybe it was before. It was either before or after a game, when a fan had either a balloon or a ball, and they got a hold. They somehow signaled David Bodie, and they wanted to throw it to him, and he was going to hit it, and then it would burst, and it would either be blue dust or pink dust, and that would tell the lady's husband what the baby was going to be.
Uh-huh.
And exactly what you would think happened if you throw a ball to David Bodie. He missed it, but it burst on the field, so the guy knew he was having a boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good job, Dave. Why would you pick him? He must have been the only one willing to do it.
I think you answered your question.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to ask you about so the Cubs they drafted this guy named Gage Tater Workman. Tater is not a nickname. It's his middle name.
Not working out.
They got him in the Rule 5 draft from the Tigers, and he had a good spring because everybody can hit in Arizona because it's Arizona. Nobody's trying to get you out, and everything flies an extra 40 feet. Tater made the club, and they were like, "Oh, thank God," because this guy's got a lot of talent, and we don't want to risk giving him back to the Tigers. If we try to send him to the minors, we have to expose him. Not only do you have to offer him back to the Tigers, but first, he's got to clear waivers because any other team can claim him and take on the Rule 5 rules.
Right.
So first he's got to get through waivers. Then you have to put him on a platter and shove him over to Scott Harris and go, "Would you like this back?" And he just says yes or no. Tater had 3 hits during his stint with the Cubs. The first 2 of which were off of Dodgers infielder Miguel Rojas.
Oh, man.
One was a double. His other hit was an infield single against the Diamondbacks. Gage was in the big leagues for a month. He at no point hit a ball fair out of the infield. But he's a whiz on defense at third base. In the game on Friday against the Diamondbacks, Randall Grichuk's second hit of an inning was a ball hit down the third base line that went right under Gage's glove, which led to 3 extra runs. And then he made 2 errors on Sunday. Craig Counsell has finally seen enough.
Yes.
He told Jed, "We're done with this Tater shit," and he's got to go. So he's been designated for assignment, and he's now going through the process. And he was replaced by Nicky Lopez.
Right.
Who had been with the Cubs in the spring, and the Cubs had released him during the final cuts. And then I forget where Nicky went. He got to play somewhere for a little bit, and he just got released, and now he's back.
Atlanta sounds right, but that could be some other year.
Yeah. The other thing I want to mention about Tater was Tater spent 3 years playing for the Tigers affiliate in the Eastern League. Is that a good sign when you play 3 full seasons at the same minor league stop?
I mean, if at first you don't succeed.
He was pretty good by the 3rd time when he was the oldest player in the league. He had gotten it. I don't know where I'm going with this other than do you have any insight into the thoughts of a team when they have a chance to get a Rule 5 guy back who has spent this much time with another club?
Well, I think, 9 times out of 10, if it's a pitcher, they're going to take him back because people always feel like they can use pitching, or they can fix it, or it just needs more time or whatever. When it's a hitter, I feel like you've exposed more of a long-term issue, and maybe there's a chance that they won't want him back. I think you pay $100,000 and then you get back $50,000 if it's some kind of transaction like that. It's not a lot of money, but I think the Rule 5 thing is just it's typically like a fool's gold sort of thing, and there is a tradition in baseball of it. It's sort of a tradition of like clinging to the reserve clause where like we own these people no matter what kind of thing, and it's good at maybe in the minor leagues to have it. If you got to bring a guy up from AA to AAA for a year. I think that's one thing, but I think it's kind of cruel to, for the most part, to have these guys. They almost always don't work out. So there's a history of them. Like if you go back far enough, there's enough. Johan Santana was a Rule 5, but for every Johan Santana, there's like 10 guys that suck, and I don't think it's good for their development or confidence. And as it turns out, you end up bringing Nicky Lopez back anyway. You might as well have just kept it.
Yep.
So I think the reward is almost never worth it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I guess if Gage clears waivers, he doesn't have to. Like the Tigers can take him back. I don't think they have to put him on the 40-man. I think if they had to put him on the 40-man, there's probably no chance they would keep him because now
That's a great question.
You'd have to jettison somebody else for him.
Well, he wouldn't have been on the 40-man in the first place. So yes,
right. But I wondered he's on. So he was 40-man eligible, which is why, and they didn't protect him, which is why they didn't put him on the 40-man, which is why the Cubs claimed him. Cubs had to put him on the 40-man. But I would guess if he clears, I guess I just don't know how the Rule 5 waivers work. Like right now, he's not really, he's free to be claimed, but he still comes with his strings attached. Like
yes, true.
So say that some team say the Diamondbacks got to look at Gage like, oh, we like him, and they claim him. They have to keep him the rest of the year. They have to offer him back to the Tigers.
The White Sox have a guy like that. I think he pitched last night. His name is slipping my mind, but he pitched like 3 innings against the Twins. Looked pretty good. Or maybe it was the first game of the series. I don't remember. But they have Shane Smith, the one Rule 5 guy, and another guy who's on who some other team had him, and then they let him go to the White Sox, but he's still subject to the Rule 5 rules. So,
the Cubs they got Hector Rondon. He was a Rule 5 from the Astros, not from the Astros. He ended up with the Astros. I forget where they got him from. That one worked, and that helped that it was the old rules, and he was injured.
Yeah.
And so they had to have him on the active roster for X amount of days, but it was like 71 days or whatever. But they could put him on the injured list, and so they did. They when Lou was the manager, Hendry stuck him with David Patton, and they basically pitched a guy short in the bullpen all year because every time Patton would come in, he would get completely lit up, and Lou was not happy about it. And then Patton obviously didn't stick around. But I think the best Rule 5 player in Cub history was probably Jody Davis. That's how they got Jody from the Cardinals. So, screw you, Cardinals.
The Rule 5 draft, the Rule 5 rules since then, they change them every few years to make it less probable that you'll get a guy like Jody Davis.
Yeah,
that'll happen again.
Right.
So,
the Cubs, they're having trouble with their left-handed relievers. Caleb Thielbar is their best left-handed reliever. He's nobody's hitting him, but he's also walking everybody, so that's not a great sign. They tried Luke Little for a day. They brought him up, and in a close game, he came in to pitch. He came in to pitch the 8th inning, and he was going to face Jason Hayward and Gavin Sheets to start the inning, and he walked them both, which was not good. And they ended up walking 4 guys in the inning. And Craig Counsell, who never ever like publicly criticizes a player, just went off on him in the post game. He's like, "We're walking guys. We can't walk. You can't walk left on left. You can't walk Jason Hayward. You can't walk Gavin Sheets." So it was no shock that he was then sent away. They then they went to Jordan Wicks, who's a starter, but they've been trying to turn him into a lefty specialist for this season down in Iowa. And he faced 3 batters and gave up 3 hits on 5 pitches. And then in the extra inning loss on Sunday, he made an error. And so now they have combed the nursing homes and made a trade with the Mariners for Drew Pomeranz.
Yeah.
Drew hasn't pitched in 4 years, but he's still younger than Caleb Thielbar by 2 years. I was like, oh, they got this old guy. Oh, he's not even the oldest left-hander in his bullpen. And the 4-year gap is actually a year less than Caleb had in his big league career. Right. So he can't, Caleb is not going to be sympathetic if Pomeranz is complaining about anything. You think you got it rough. Big deal. I'm older than you, and I sat out 5 years. Pomeranz was supposed to be a starter, and he was kind of okay, and then he wasn't that great, and then he got turned into a reliever, and his 2 years as a reliever in San Diego, he was really good.
Yeah.
And then it blew out his arm, and it's been put back together. He's back. He was on the roster last night. He didn't pitch, so we haven't seen him yet. But we hear these things about, we brought this guy back and he's great in the pitch lab. So far, it's never, at least for the Cubs, it hasn't worked. I'm sure it's worked for other teams have found guys. The Cubs tried to bring Luke Haggerty back a couple of years ago, a guy the 2nd round pick who was in his late 30s and hadn't pitched forever. And they were all excited. And the Athletic went nuts. And Sahadev wrote like 4 Luke Haggerty articles. And then like in his first spring appearance, elbow went, we never heard from him again. I don't know. I don't know what else you're supposed to do in April. These are the kind of guys you can get in April. Pomeranz was available because he had whatever the date the Cubs got him was the date that the Mariners either had to put him on the big league roster or set him free. And so they, instead of just losing him for nothing, they traded him to the Cubs for nothing. So we'll see. It'd be nice if it worked. It's just I don't know that arms work that way. That you have a really serious injury and then 4 years later it's miraculously healed.
Well, I'm not sure what he can do, but like you said, he does have a history of, in addition to being injured, being good as a left-handed guy. I think at some point you just have to just not worry about having a left-handed relief pitcher if this is what you have to pick. Just have the best players you can and try and manage it. I mean, it's just not worth it sometimes, or oft times.
Yeah, he finished up the 19th season in Milwaukee, pitching for Craig Counsell. So that's probably why he's back. 239 ERA and 25 appearances for the Brewers. Only gave up 16 hits in 26 innings. He signed a pretty nice contract with the Padres, and he was really good, but he only pitched... Well, in the COVID year, he pitched 20 games, so 1/3 of the games. He only gave up 9 hits in 18 innings.
Right.
And then in 21, he pitched in 27 games, and then that's when he got hurt. And he'd only given up 19 hits in 25 innings. Struck out 30 and walked 10. He was really good. So, I mean, there's, you could see why you would be interested. I think Cub fans have to temper their expectations of what they're going to get out of 36-year-old Drew Pomeranz. Talking about the Wicks in that Padre or Little in that Padre series. Early in that, I immediately, when stuff like this happens, even before it finally ends, I start to think of Jason Stark.
Right.
So Manny Machado is up, and he hits a long fly ball to right field that that Justin Tucker chases after, and he gets as he gets close to the wall, he kind of pulls up a little bit and it drops foul. Oh no, he slides, it hits his glove. It goes foul. He was starting to shy away from the wall. They gave him an error. Then he hits a pop-up over to the catcher, and I forget if I think it was Amaya. Misjudged it, and I'm not going to blame Gage for this. Tater came flying in at the end because he could tell the catcher wasn't going to catch it. Came flying in, tried to catch it, and he dropped it. So another error. And immediately I'm like, oh, well, Machado's going to hit a home run here, and then Jason Stark's going to have a column. And of course, Machado did. He had a home run. And Boog yelled, and this is the part I question. What a great at bat by Manny Machado. Like, he fouled out twice. Boog. That's not a great at bat. I had a similar feeling when Wicks had he came in extra innings on Sunday, and they bunted, and he threw the ball away, and so the go-ahead run scored. And then he walked somebody, and then he got out of it. And the Cubs backup announcer was like, what a great effort by Jordan Wicks. Like, no, he literally, the reason they scored is because he threw the ball down the right field line. And then the mess he got out of is a mess he started himself. That's not a great effort. He just survived it. I don't know. Maybe I should. I got to use that thing where I don't hear the announcers, I think. But yeah, I think that's everything.
All right.
All of my topics. So be very excited to see in the draft tonight, the NFL draft, if any future big league stars get drafted. I guess it doesn't happen that way. It happens the opposite way, I guess. Like Tom Brady was a Expo draft pick. Whoever.
So we can revisit this in July or whenever the MLB draft.
Yeah, they should just start picking. It doesn't happen as much. The old draft where they just picked until you got tired of picking. Right. That's the one I liked. That was you get to the end of the draft and only the Dodgers were still drafting. And everybody's laughing at him, and then with the 61st round, they're like, we'll take Tommy's buddy's kid. Or nephew? Maybe nephew. Yeah. And they take Mike Piazza. And he goes all the way. But for those who don't know, that's how the MLB draft used to work. Once you passed, you were done. But until you passed, you could pick as many guys as you wanted. Right. And so some teams would crap out, get to about round 30 and go, all right, that's enough. The cheap teams. We're not paying anybody else. We're going to buy a bus ticket for this guy. No. And then some teams who took it, to the extreme. And then you'd end up with like the White Sox drafting front office members' kids. Just for fun. Ron Schuler drafted his daughter. Casey Fisk got drafted. The one I enjoyed then was their strength coach. His kid was an actual prospect, and they didn't take him. And it's Alec Thomas, and he's playing in the big leagues. Yes. The one time it might have worked out. They're like, we're not doing that's ridiculous. We're not doing that.
There's no nepotism here.
All right. Well, thanks, Dave.
All right, thanks, Andy.
Many of us have herpes.
Post-game show is brought to you by Christ, I can't find it. The hell with it.
It's fitting. It's got to be done with one of the best games of all time. Just unbelievable. I mean, got to congratulate the Dolan family.
Sean, my podcast co-host Andy, you were his favorite player growing up.
Oh, thank you so much, Andy.